Hey there, scholars. Troy here. Glad that you joined me. We're going to talk a little bit today about wellness and self-care in challenging times. This is an incredibly important topic that is very relevant to our current moment. So I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. So let's talk a little bit about wellness and self-care, what that really looks like right now. And clearly it is a difficult time for many of us as individuals, for many of our communities, for our nation, and for our world. To state the obvious, there's a perfect storm right now, right? There's a global coronavirus pandemic. There is economic freefall and recession. And there is systemic racism that has a long history and continues to plague our communities and our nation and our world. So it's a tough space right now. I think it's important to note that we each experience this space in our own way, right? It would be disingenuous for me personally, just speaking for myself, it would be disingenuous for me to not recognize that I am A, healthy, B, employed, and C, white. And honestly, all of this flattens the curve of adversity that I face right now. That said, this isn't a competition, right? Our task is not to measure and compare who is suffering more than others. We recognize that there are many systemic and individual factors that shape how we individually experience this moment of adversity. We honor the fact that we and others are struggling right now, each in our own way, in our own place. We hold ourselves and others in an embrace of wellness and self-care, and we affirm the universal human right to be healthy, to be whole, and to heal. I think it's important to frame wellness and self-care in such a way right now. And the point isn't to distract or to isolate or to ignore this reality that surrounds us in these challenging times, right? The point in doing these types of self-care and wellness activities, yes, we do for a moment turn away from the adversity. We do for a moment shut off the news feed. We do for a moment stop doing our activism or doing our work in these challenging spaces. We do take a moment to focus inward on ourselves. The point in doing so, in my view, though, is so that we can strengthen ourselves, sharpen our focus, take care of ourselves, cultivate positive energy within ourselves so that we can be resilient, we can turn back to the adversity with intention, with clarity, showing up as our best selves in that space, moving forward as best we can so that we can co-create a better world for ourselves and for others. As a check-in, I invite you to pause the video and describe a positive activity or event that you have experienced in the past few months that contributed to your well-being. Let's start there. Let's lift up something positive that you've experienced. I encourage you to write that down, to share that with a friend, to share that with a fellow scholar, to share it with a McNair advisor. Giving voice to something makes it more impactful. There are all sorts of formal and informal practices for wellness and self-care. Here are some of the more systematic approaches that are out there that have practices and techniques and structure, but truly anything that does no harm to others, does no harm to yourself, while creating a positive feeling, a positive emotion, a positive energy, whatever that looks like to you, that is wellness and self-care. Limited only by your imagination and your own self-awareness about what cultivates positive health and well-being within you. Here are 6 daily questions, and these come to us from the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley. I adapted them, the first one slightly, the rest are all the same from that citation. This is an example of a starting place, a place where you could start your day, working through all of these questions, choosing one to start your day with, to think through, to give some intention and direction and self-accountability to taking time for self-care. For today's activity, for today's workshop, I encourage you to spend some time with this list. Maybe choose one of the questions and journal a response, or talk through a response with a friend. Maybe do that with multiple, if not all, the questions. So this is a great starting point for self-care and wellness. The final part of today's workshop is a yoga and mindfulness activity, and you can find a video that I made at the YouTube link listed here. I recorded this video before the tragic death, the murder of George Floyd that we've all witnessed. And so, as someone that does a lot of yoga and meditation, I've been in this space of trying to be in this space where we see someone lose their breath right before their eyes. I can't breathe. And then in yoga and mindfulness, we're focusing on the breath. And so for me personally, again, as someone that does a lot of yoga and meditation, I've found it that I needed to hold a space before doing yoga to honor and recognize the feelings and the emotions that bubble up right now for me when I'm focusing on my breath. Now, I encourage you to go to the Treehouse Yoga video that I put together. You can observe, just watch. You can try it out. Great thing about YouTube yoga is that you can pause it to watch it and then practice the moves. You can do it where in the comfort of your own home, where no one else is seeing you and you don't have to feel judged or like you're doing it right or wrong. As I say in the video, there is no right or wrong way to do yoga, in my view. You're either doing it or not, and if you're doing it, then you're doing it. You're doing it in a way that works for you in that time or space. This particular video, I made it to be fairly short. I made it to be accessible to anyone, regardless of previous yoga experience, including people that have never done yoga before, including people who may think that yoga is strange or out there, that they're not, may feel a little discomfort towards it. It's meant to be open and accessible for all, and it's meant to introduce a yoga / mindfulness / breathing technique that can perhaps be helpful in navigating challenging times and challenging spaces. So I invite you to check out that video and see if it's helpful for you or not. If it is, great. If it's not, then let it go. Either way, it is fine. So I hope this short webinar has been helpful for you all and gives you some thoughts, ideas, feelings to cultivate, to practice, to implement. Know that I'm always thinking of you all. I always want the best for you all, and hearing how some students hearing in our in-person session various ways that students have been taking care of themselves and connecting with wellness activities makes me very happy, because I know I believe that will help you just as it has helped me, as it has helped many others. It helped us be strong, be well, show up in these difficult spaces. So it makes me happy to know that folks are doing the work of wellness and self-care, because I do see it as very important. If you have any questions, comments, want to talk further about any of this, feel free to follow up with me, get in contact with me, and we'll go from there. All right? Take good care. We'll see you soon. Bye.